Hello YouTube, it's Granny with 73 coming to you from my kitchen. I'm in my kitchen tonight because I wanted to make a homemade, excuse me for a second, a homemade vegetable soup. Um, it's November here where I live now, so, and the weather has been kind of rainy and crappy for the last week and a bit, 2 weeks maybe, and so I am trying to make an immune boosting soup which has a lot of garlic and onion in it. There's also going to be some tomato sauce because I don't have, and this is the canned stuff, which I don't normally use. I usually use my own. When I was in the house, I jarred my own tomatoes, and for some reason, tomatoes and basil and stuff like that grew for me like nothing. I could put it in the ground anywhere, and I'd grow like 20 million plants. I'm being facetious, of course, but it seemed like 20 million plants. The first year we had the garden in the house, I had 82 plants, which some of them were cherry tomatoes and some of them were the big stewing tomatoes. And I had some heirloom tomatoes, some brandywines and stuff like that. And they made really nice sauce. Unfortunately, I don't have any left over from well, it was not last year, but the year before. And I've given away most of my preserves. And I have used up what I didn't give away. So, such as it is, I have to use canned at the moment. Now, my vegetable soups, they don't usually follow a recipe much. I'm going to use a whole bunch of garlic. I've got 10 cloves of garlic. And this is the size of pot I'm using right now because I'm usually the only one that eats this. My boyfriend does not like tomatoes. I know, terrible, isn't it? But he doesn't like them. My youngest son, Colin, doesn't like them either. He'll eat spaghetti sauce, and he'll eat ketchup, and he'll eat pizza, but he doesn't like tomatoes in general, so he won't touch it. And if the spaghetti sauce tastes like tomatoes, like if it doesn't have that vinegary taste that you get from, some of the recipes, then he won't touch it either. I couldn't pay him to eat tomatoes. But anyways, so like I said, 10 cloves of garlic, a whole onion. I've got broccoli and celery here. And, well, tomorrow's payday, so that's pretty much all I got for vegetables on hand right now. I'm going to be buying some more fresh vegetables tomorrow. So there are my garlic cloves, if you can see that. And I'm going to cut up the onion and the celery. And I'll be back to you in just a minute. Okay, so I decided to put a couple of small potatoes in this soup as well. I love potatoes. I'm Irish and Scottish and native, so potatoes is something I grew up eating a lot of when I was a kid. Just about everything. I mean, we even have people from Newfoundland in the family who married in, but, like the culinary side to it is there, right? You get the staples, like salt beef and salt herring and potatoes. You get roast pork and potatoes. My grandmother, she was like she was my step-grandmother. She wasn't blood relation, but she was the potato boiling queen. Every time we had anything with potatoes, it was a fight between her and my mom. as to how the potatoes were going to be cooked because Grandma always wanted to boil them. Always, always. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the way it should have been. She also made porridge you could stand on, but yeah, she was an old country gal. I have fond memories of coming in from school and seeing her in the kitchen on a stool, boiling pot of water on the floor, and a goose half plucked right there in the kitchen, right over top of the boiling pot of water. It was a sight to see, I tell you. It was definitely a smell that you'll never forget. Anyways, so I'm roughly chopping my garlic. I'm going to chop it a little finer, but if you're finding that you're feeling a little sluggish and it's been rainy or cold, or you just feel muggy in your head and stuff like that, this is a really good soup to clear you out. I'll also add some cayenne pepper and some other spices like sage and some thyme, some oregano leaves that I have dried from the garden, and some basil. I love cooking with basil. There's a few herbs that I work with a lot. Garlic is, a lot of people don't consider it an herb, but then again, a lot of people don't consider it a vegetable. So to me, it's more than just something you put in your food. It's got a life of its own, and it speaks to you in a way, if you listen closely, that it kind of tells you, what its properties are and how it can help you. I learned that from a woman I was watching on YouTube, and I thought I was the only one that thought about herbs that way, but I don't know. Her name is Susun Weed. If you get a chance, check her out. She's on YouTube, and she's an old hippie chick, and she's really into the whole naturopathic, way of life. She's lived in teepees out in the wilderness with the plants, and she's lived a life, definitely a life worth envying, because it sounds like a really freeing existence that she's had. Something that I strive to be and strive to attain one day. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over here and let you take a look at what I've got in here. There's, so far I've got in here potatoes and onions and garlic. And I use sunflower oil, and I'm going to let them cook up a little bit before I add liquids to it. It helps to release the flavors, and it cooks out some of the starch in the potatoes before you put it in the soup. And I'm using about, you see that? It's about half a teaspoon of sage powder. You can do this as much or as little as you like. It depends on how much you like these spices. This is about half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Got a teaspoon of thyme. Everybody could use a little more thyme in their life, so I like to cook with thyme. And this is bay leaves. I love the smell of bay leaves. I'll put them in, put 2 bay leaves in. This already smells really good. I always, when I'm cooking, always use a wooden spoon. It's just, you don't have to. It's just my preference. Okay, so this is the soup in the pot. Put the tomato sauce in with about a half a can of water. And I'm going to let this sit on on medium for probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then I'll pick out the bay leaves and it'll be all done. And I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. But look at it. See all that? All those chunks of veggies in here. It's good for the soul, I'll tell you. It's good for any cold that ails you eat too. If it's just one of those cold wintry nights, this is a really good supper to have with some crusty bread and garlic butter. It's really, really good. Alright, YouTube. Have a good night. Blessed be.